am so happy today to welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast, none other than Jasmine Jones. This is going to be an extraordinary episode. Welcome, Jasmine.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. You are more than welcome. Jasmine is going to share a quite remarkable journey with us today. But before we get started on it, I always, Jasmine, ask all of my guests this. And it's one simple question. Oh, and you all will find out on the back end how I know Jasmine. That's why I'm so thrilled she's up here. I like to kind of share that near the end. So you'll have to stay tuned to hear how Jasmine and I really know each other. But okay, Jasmine, I always start with this simple question with everybody just about. And the question is simply, who is Jasmine Jones? Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, Lord. I would say she's eccentric. She is outgoing. She is resilient. She is funny. She is a lover, a fighter, everything that you could possibly bottle up into one, and then it comes out like Sprite. So it just pops out. You shake it up and it pops out. That's me.
Okay. I like that. Wow, that's you. And what helped to lead to your personality and your character? Was it from where you were from? Are you from the Washington area? Are you from further south? Are you from the West Coast? Tell us about your upbringing.
I would say I'm basically from the South because I grew up with my grandmother mostly because my mom was in the military. So we traveled a lot. We went to a lot of different places. I've been international. So I think coming from all of that and just seeing different things growing up and being younger and basically taking care of myself at a very young age, I always had an outgoing personality in a way with a mix. But I think that's, I would say I'm Southern. I would have to say.
Southern. Uh-huh. Okay, you are Southern, just like I am Southern. Okay, wonderful. Now, in terms of your career and your life right now, you've had a really extensive journey, specifically in the area of the military. Could you tell us about that?
Yes. So I joined the military in 2011, and basically it was right out of college because I went to college for graphic design. So there weren't any
Mm.
jobs like that. So my mom was like, okay, what you gonna do? What we're gonna do
Yeah.
after this? So she was in the military. So I was doing all type of military things before I even joined. So I was comfortable with it. So nothing they did to me in there really surprised me or scared me because I was like, she was yelling at me far beyond that before I even joined the military.
She had
So
prepped you. She had prepped you for it.
she got me ready. I was cutting corners in beds before I could even count to 3.
Wow.
So and I appreciate her for that. But either way, the military I guess gave me a lot of discipline and a lot of balance in life. It really pushed me to be better than I probably ever could have been. I'm grateful to have joined the military because it basically made me the woman I am today. It gave
Mm.
me strength, I believe, and it's a good background to have for myself.
Which branch are you in?
I was in the Army.
The Army. Okay.
Mhm.
The Army. And in terms of your travels, did you travel globally? Did you stay nationally here in the US? What was that like?
My first duty station was Colorado. I cannot believe they put me there because if anybody knows, when you go to Colorado, you have to adjust to the weather
Altitude?
range, the altitude.
I've
Yes.
heard that. I've never gone,
Mhm.
but I've
It
heard
is.
that.
You can't breathe. Like simply just walking up the steps was very, very hard because you just can't breathe. Like
Mm.
you have to adjust. That's why a lot of Olympians train there because it helps with breathing techniques.
Oh.
So, they give you 3 months to get acclimated to running and doing all of that because they know how difficult it is. So that was my first duty station, and then my second duty station was Fort Stewart, but in between all of that, I ended up hurting my ankle,
Mm.
and I was having a hard time running. So that's basically why I had to get out because, my ankle was messed up. But I would have
Wow.
did my 20 and I would have
Hmm.
still been in probably to this day had I not hurt myself.
Okay, wow. And without going into too much depth, because I still like to respect Jasmine's privacy, but what I will say is after she did transition from the military due to her experience, she was able to get a career in the government, and that's what Jasmine does now. So with all of that being said, Jasmine, as listeners can see from what the title of this episode is, you have a journey with a condition that's called myasthenia gravis. I want you to tell us about that. Also, correct me if I'm saying it incorrectly, because it is a disease that I learned about recently in the past few years. I had heard about it, but I really wasn't sure what it was. So, before you document your experience with it, could you please just tell us what exactly is MG?
Okay, so myasthenia gravis is basically a neuromuscular disorder. It causes issues with all the muscles all over your body. That's the best way to explain it. It's basically a disconnect. Something is not connecting within your body. That's basically speaking to something else, if that makes sense.
Mm,
So, there are different forms. There's ocular, there's generalized, there's also musk. There's various forms that have come out
mm,
over time. So, I pardon my community if I forget any,
mm.
but that's basically what myasthenia gravis is. And I have generalized myasthenia, which is all over the body that
Wow.
affects muscle in my body essentially. So, yeah, that's basically the
Mhm.
gist.
So when you say it's a condition, would it be classified as an autoimmune illness?
Yes, it's classified as autoimmune.
Okay.
So, um, I feel like it's kind of hard for people to kind of understand what it is because you can't see it. So it's very hard to
Mhm.
understand, and being diagnosed is very difficult to get done because sometimes you can be diagnosed as something else. So yeah, I would quantify it as, autoimmune.
And I'm so glad Jasmine brought that up, because when you are living with an autoimmune condition, and again, as a reminder, especially for people that might be newer to this podcast, while I don't speak just about autoimmune illness, as you all know from hearing the first episode, part of the inspiration of me even becoming a holistic health coach has to do with my own autoimmune journey with Crohn's, as well as other conditions, one that affects my liver, and particularly, um, which has caused me to continue thriving. And so Jasmine brings up a good point when she talks about myasthenia gravis is something you cannot see. Autoimmune illnesses are considered invisible illnesses where people that live with them may look outwardly absolutely amazing, but that's not always the case. Now, Jasmine, just like with a lot of things, I told you I didn't know what that was at first. So, could you just kind of tell us, and you could take it in any direction you want it to go, when did you first start having symptoms? What did those symptoms look like? What led to your diagnosis? You have the floor. Speak about it any which way that you want to. Just tell us about your overall journey that led to your diagnosis.
Sure. So when I first discovered I was having symptoms, I was having a very stressful time in my life. I was going through a lot in my then marriage. I was taking care of my stepson. I was trying to find a new job.
Mm.
It was very heavy on my shoulders. It felt like a ton of bricks. So it was the day after I had an interview, and I noticed I was driving and the sun was very bright that day. I don't know what it was, but it was shining directly in my eyes. And I noticed I couldn't see.
Mm.
So I started to panic and I started to cry because I was like, this is just abnormal. I don't know what's going on with me. I went home and I kind of tried to wait it out for a day, but I started to get really hot. I even fainted, I believe. I can't exactly remember.
Wow.
Hmm. So that next day, I was driving my stepson to school at the time, and I was coming back, and the sun shined in my eyes again, and I couldn't see. I was having a hard time driving back. So I called my ex-husband and I told him, I need to go to the hospital. So I ended up going to the hospital, and the doctors, it was really late, the VA hospital. And it was really late at night. So luckily they had a eye doctor there. So he was looking at my eyes. He was confused himself because he was like, I'm not seeing what's going on with your eyesight,
Oh, wow.
he didn't
Wow.
understand either.
Yeah.
So they decided to admit me into the hospital, and they put me in an MRI machine, and I was in there for an hour. Didn't even realize they was taking pictures of my brain. So um they just, I went to sleep that night. I woke up and a team of doctors came in. It was almost like Grey's Anatomy. They just came
Yeah.
in, stood at stood at the
Yeah.
front of my
Stat.
bed.
Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, they stood at the front of my bed, and I was just looking like, what's happening? The worst comes to mind, Google type stuff. So I'm looking.
Dr. Google. Dr. Google.
Dr. Google came
Yeah.
in, and he was a young doctor. I remember him like yesterday. He was very young, but
Oh,
he had a team
wow.
of doctors behind him. And he was like, "Yes, Miss Jones, at the time we think that it's we think you have MS." I was like,
Multiple
MS,
sclerosis.
multiple sclerosis.
Oh.
So I said I was familiar with what MS was. I was very
Mhm.
And I say, I start crying, I'm bawling because I know what MS does to the body, because when they told me what was going on with my brain, they said I had white matter on my brain. And just a tiny bit of history. My grandmother used to suffer from headaches really, really bad. And
Mm.
I also suffer from headaches. So I'm like, okay, well, this might answer the question as to why I'm probably suffering from significant, like my brain was older than what I am, basically.
Mhm.
So I'm crying to my husband, ex-husband at the time, and I'm just calling all my family members and letting them know what's going on. They panicking as well as I'm panicking.
Mhm.
So they wanted to do what's that fluid that they take out of your back? It's
Spinal Tap.
spinal tap.
Oh,
Yes.
girl, I had those are horrible. They are horrible.
Horrible. Absolutely.
Girl,
I
I've
told
had
them,
one in my life, and I'm never that, and bone marrow extraction.
I heard that was terrible.
Bone marrow extraction is like, oh my goodness, I can't.
It's terrible.
Anyway, going back,
Yeah.
they gave you the spinal tap.
They
Okay, go
gave me the
ahead.
option at first,
Mhm.
and I was like,
Okay,
absolutely not.
yeah,
So, but then they
okay.
were like, no, we need to see if it's an infection. We need to rule out a lot more things than just, diagnosing you straight off with this. I said, okay, fine. So
Mm.
for a little bit of that, so they go into my back, and my leg jumps. They hit a nerve. My leg jumps. I'm crying, bawling. They finally get what they need. They take it out, then they put it back in.
Hey,
And then they finally get what they need from my back. And I'm just like, I hate this. I hate my life right now. I hate this.
girl.
So they start treating me with medication, which was at the time I didn't know was our main meds, which was prednisone and pyridostigmine slash mestinon.
Mm.
So that night they wheeled me down for a CT scan, and the doctor, I asked him, the CT, whatever they call them, I asked them, I said, did you see anything? He was like, yeah, I noticed a little something. And I was like, okay. So the next day, team of doctors come back, and they're like, we don't think you have MS. We think you have something called myasthenia gravis. And I was like, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
You're like, what?
What
That
is
ain't real.
this?
What you talking
Right.
about?
That
Yeah.
sounds a lot like like MS, but y'all just changed the S into the
Oh.
G. So I'm like, I'm Googling that, and I'm still not understanding what this is, because I'm like,
Mm.
my symptoms still don't match up, because at the time I was only having ocular issues, which was just my eyes.
Eyes. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm like, this still doesn't make sense to me. So they released me from the hospital, and they give me they also tell me that I have a thynoma, which is why they linked me to MG.
What is that?
It's a tumor, basically.
Oh,
It could be cancerous or it could be benign.
mm,
Um, some people who have it do have a cancerous form of it. And as time went on, I found out mine was benign.
okay.
So they released me, and then that's when all my symptoms started to come. That's when my
What?
just
uh, Jasmine, question of clarity.
hmm
Where was the thynoma? In your eye or
it was in my chest, so it was right next to
oh,
the heart. Hmm.
oh, wow.
Right. So that I found out all that later on down the line.
What
So
now was that connected to the MG?
yes, it's like
Oh,
they might have changed the stats now, but it's like a 25% chance in having myasthenia that you will have a thynoma.
my goodness. Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
It's very small percentage. So I was diagnosed with generalized myasthenia with thynoma.
Mm,
So I say it amazes me when you find out something and all of a sudden everything starts to hurt and everything comes full circle. And I
mhm.
said, that's just crazy to me because I've never felt this thing a day in my life. And it
Pause
was,
here.
mhm.
Pause here because I want you to stay in this moment. Can you tell us how you felt, what you were thinking, all of that when you hear this diagnosis?
I was very overwhelmed. I was sad. I was um I was just thinking about future. Like I was like, how am I supposed to move? Because when you're focused and you're living one way and you're okay with that way, then your life takes a trajectory to another place. Then you're just like, what am I supposed to do with all of this?
Mm,
Like, and then I'm just trying to figure things out. My mind was going a million miles a minute. Because mind you, I have a job that I have to drive around for every day. I have a stepson that I'm taking care of. I have a husband that I'm trying to stay connected with. So all these things bottled up. I just couldn't believe it. Like I was just like, this is just I was fine just yesterday. Other day I was fine. I went to an interview. There was
mm,
nothing with me. But in that moment, I was just like, this is really happening to me. Like, life is really changing. And I thought it was just something where you just could get back to normal life. Like, okay, diagnosis, we're back. Give me some medication. We're good. Cause I've never been sick a day in my life. Not to that extent.
mhm,
I've always been healthy.
mhm.
So it really just changed my mindset significantly and also changed the people around me significantly,
And
which
and were you in your 20s then?
I was 29.
Wow. So to
Hmm.
get this diagnosis when you're still young and wow. And you said it changed the people around you. I want to put a pin in that because I want to come back to that later. But okay, so now you have this diagnosis. What happens next?
I began to start to feel all the symptoms, which was the extreme weakness, which was all over my body. It got to the point where I couldn't turn on a light switch because your mind is telling your arm to move and turn on a light switch, but you can't because your arm is so weak, you can't do it. And they hadn't really figured out my medication, uh, the strength I needed at the time and what was necessary for me to function. So the neurologist, I was getting all my doctors, neurology, oncology, all the ologies, like
Mhm.
every ology was coming out the woodworks, endocrinology, nology. Like I was like, so
Rheumatology, everybody. Yeah.
rheumatology, every ology. So I'm again, my mind is going a million miles a minute because grant you, I'm still thinking I still gotta go to work. Like, what you mean I gotta stop my life to worry
Mhm.
about what this is? So eventually I had to resign from my job. I
Mhm.
resigned because I could no longer do the job anymore. Um and uh I just started like my body went weak. I would wake up in the morning, I wouldn't be able to get out the bed. I would have to roll over to get out the bed and fall out of the bed to basically get out of it. And
Mhm.
then I couldn't lift myself up. Like I could not, my muscles were not working. And I was so confused
Mhm.
about all of this. And I want to say in between talking to my surgeon, I had my first myasthenic crisis. And a myasthenic crisis is basically when your respiratory system kind of like shuts down and basically like your muscles, you get extreme weakness.
Mm,
And my crazy self thought I could go a week without my Mestinon or thought I could, go some time because I wasn't familiar with how things worked at the time. And I was sitting there eating soup, I can remember, and then I couldn't lift up the spoon and soup was falling out of my mouth. And
wow.
my husband at the time, he called 911 because he didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. So they had to carry me down because we lived on the third floor. They had to carry me down. I couldn't move. I couldn't move. Like I couldn't. And I thought to myself at that time, I said, this is it. This is where I go because I
Mm,
couldn't breathe. I was having a hard time breathing. And I said, I can't move. I can't do anything. I can't even get up out this chair right now. Like
mm,
I was just like, this is it for me. I'm gone. So I get to the hospital, and then you know how you feel like an electric shock, right? So they
mhm.
give me my Mestinon, and all of a sudden my bones just like it just lit up. I could just
Go
I could
ahead.
move my arms, and
You
it was like
turn back on. It was
that's
like a
right. It
light
was like all
switch.
the lights just turned back on, and I was like, okay. So I'm putting two and two together. I'm like, so this is what I need in life. This
Uh-huh.
you can't neglect this because this is your lifeline right here.
My goodness. That's a
So
great analogy. That's a
mhm,
really wonderful way to compare it to. I actually
I-
pictured that. Yeah.
that's how it feels when I take it now. Even to this day, I'm like my eyes open back up. Everything just starts to
Hey.
light back up. And I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that I also had to wear an eye patch because my eyes, which they call ptosis, my eyes go low and dim, and then you get double and blurry vision.
Mm.
So, and then they don't tell you is that, well, they don't really know, I don't think, is that it throws off your equilibrium. So um it's like all of my other senses started compensating for me not being able to see. So I couldn't go to Walmart because it was so much noise and so much crowd because my eyes weren't working. My ears started trying to let me know what was around me, and it was too loud.
Overcompensate.
It would
Oh, I
over.
see.
So
Yeah.
when people would come close to me,
Yes.
I'd be like, I can't do this. I can't do this because I can't see what's going on next to me, in front of me, whatever may be going on. So I was housed. I was in the house all the time. My ex-husband had to do everything for me because I couldn't go anywhere. Walking across the street was difficult. I called my mom, I was crying
Mm.
because I literally was just like, this is too much. I can't do it, you know? So in between all of that madness going on, I finally saw my surgeon and he ran several tests on me from another CT scan. They found out the mass was, I can't remember the exact measurements, but it was fairly large.
Mm.
So, um, the thing they can do is now with technology, they have something called the robot, like a robotic thynectomy. And but they can also do something where they go down the middle and they crack your sternum to get out the mass, or just to take out your thymus gland altogether.
My goodness.
So a lot of the MG community that I know, or most of the MG community, the old way is to crack your sternum and to go down the middle.
Mm.
That's very difficult to heal from. Um, so I went in there and he told me that I would have to have this surgery. Again, another emotional moment. So not only am I diagnosed with this illness, but I'm also going to go through a very life-threatening surgery where they have to have a heart doctor on call and they have to have my surgeon on call because or they're to monitor to make sure that they don't have to go down the middle because of how close this tumor was to my heart.
Mm.
So I also had to have observation on my breast because my grandmother had breast cancer and
Mhm.
they wanted to make sure I didn't have any nodules in there. So um, I guess fast forward to December of 2018, because I was diagnosed in 2018. I had my surgery, my robotic thynectomy. And I always thought it was so funny because when they wheeled me back there to, get it out, I made a joke because, they put the mask on you, they tell you to count back, and it was like, "Oh, look at the robot," and I saw it was a big robot with all these arms, and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." But
You were knocked out.
I was knocked out. I was too shaken to win. And I wake up and the first thing I said was, "Thank you, God." I was
Yeah.
just like, I woke up and I checked my chest and I was like, "Okay, okay, we're working with something here." So I'm like, my side was in pain. I was like, "Okay, we're working with something there." So
Uh-huh.
I have 4 scars on my left side
Wow.
where they took out the tumor. They had to break it down and pull it out. And I have to give him a shout out because he was the best doctor. Dr. Giulianati, I will never forget this man's name. He was Italian.
Where is he located?
He's at UIC, University of Illinois in
Okay.
Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And whew, the best man I could ever meet. He made my mama cry. We were all in there. He was a very, very, very good at his job. Very good. I was so
It's so
grateful.
wonderful when you have excellent doctors. Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. I have
I love
excellent doctors. I understand. Oh, yeah. Wow.
and I just after that moment, after the surgery and healing from that, it was my journey really began, I believe, because that's when I found out. I was and all the time of me going into 2018, 19, 22, I mean 20, I didn't know my uncle had myasthenia either.
Wow. So
Mhm.
let's kind of shift there. Do some doctors think there could be a possible genetic link?
I need to do some more research, but when I read it at the time, they said no.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's changed since then,
Mhm.
but at the time, no, they said it's not, and I was like, that can't be possible because my uncle has myasthenia,
Mhm.
which
Mhm.
I always say. I tell my family, I'm like, why skip all of y'all? Why skip all of y'all and come straight
And
to me?
yeah, plus it could have affected some cousins that you might not know in terms of distant cousins, because I do genealogy and I find that even so some of my more not even extremely distant cousins, but not my first cousins, have certain conditions like Crohn's. I have a couple of people now. I don't have MS, but I have a couple of relatives who have MS. I have some relatives who have lupus. So with autoimmune illness, I tend to think that there is a genetic link in some people. So it's very possible for MG with yours too.
That
Mm.
is possible because my aunt has fibromyalgia, and then my mother has Graves. So,
Autoimmune. Oh my
right.
gosh.
Hmm.
That's
So
amazing.
possible. It's very,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
So let me ask you this, Jasmine. Um in terms of how you said it changed people around you. Can you talk more about that? What do you mean by it changed people around you?
Sure. So basically, uh, it's it with me. It's hard to kind of like. I don't want to, make it too
Okay.
difficult, but
No. Let's let me shift, because with all of my guests, I don't ever want to ask a question that will make them uncomfortable or make the people that hear this uncomfortable. So let me change that. Let me ask you, how has having MG transformed you? But how has having this over the last 5 years empowered you?
it transformed me by making me realize my worth and making me realize what I need to do for myself to make myself stronger. So right
Mm,
after that, I began to see a therapist. I had I had a psychiatrist and I had a therapist. I had a mental health. I had several people because I broke down one day. I
mm,
said, because it's so heavy. And I say, this is just a lot to deal with. And I just broke down. I just broke down. I noticed the adjustment in other people that I was with. And, you know, it basically made me realize what I needed to do for Jasmine to make Jasmine more, accepting of this situation. So
wow.
that's when I started to seek out the community that I have around me as far as MG and even people with other autoimmune disorders. So, and I realized that, they can't really tell you how to live with this disorder because that's why they call it a snowflake disorder because it's so many different variations of people with this disorder that your specific journey with it can be different from somebody else who's getting incubated.
Mm,
So, um, I would say that it caused me to kind of go be an advocate for myself and be more knowledgeable for myself when it came to the disorder and also the trajectory of my life when it came to me going through my divorce, me going through having to move to another state with this disorder, finding my doctors, creating a platform for myself, getting a new job, all of that basically became the new me and living with this. I call my child now, my child,
mm.
God, because it grows with me. I grow with it, so it's basically caused me to grow up in a sense.
How do you not let it consume your daily thoughts? Meaning, how do you shift your mindset with it? Because a huge premise of the Power Transformation podcast is talking about these holistic measures, which also includes the mind, and breaking down the self sabotaging, limiting thoughts that we all get. Anybody who claims that they don't are lying because we're human beings. So we do get into our own heads at times. So it's not discounting the fact that you do have sadness, that you do have low points at times. But is there anything that you do specifically to keep your mindset transformed to break those thoughts?
I basically have to talk to myself a lot. I do a lot of self-reflection and a lot of just I journal sometimes. I write poetry as well. I talk to myself a lot because I feel like you know who you are. And
Mhm.
I feel like you have to tell yourself that, okay, it's not always going to be like this. Yes, you live with this disorder. And yes, you have to deal with these daily things you have to do from medications to doctors, whatever it may be, but you can't let it consume you. Because once you let it consume you, it becomes your all knowing. And that's all you ever know. Like all I do is get up and go to the doctor. All I do is get up and take this medication. Yes, it's annoying, but you still have to live because that
Mm,
God, you get that diagnosis that I'm dead, that's what you're gonna live in. And you can't. And there are some, like you said, you can't discredit the fact, yes, there are some bad days, you
mm,
know, and there are some people who really, this diagnosis really, really, really eats them up. And I can't discredit that. It's hard to have positive mindsets. But there's always that glimmer of hope, whether that be from your friends, your family, your mindset, or whoever. Somebody's going to bring light to your life. And you got to hold on to that for as long as you can to try to make it through whatever darkness that you're dealing with at the time, you know? So.
I like that answer, B, because I was going to ask you to tell anybody battling, even if it's not MG, but just going through anything. You've had a lot of experiences in your life, even outside of MG. But, there may be people listening who have experienced or are going through divorce. There may be people who are sick right now. There could be people who are in transitions with have to move and it's hard. And I was going to ask you to tell them what it is they can do to help remain encouraged and uplifted and to not be so low in the dumps. Not to say those times won't come, but how to get out of them. And you've pretty much answered that. And I really, really appreciate. In terms of your community, in terms of MG, there are a couple of things that I want to end with specifically. First of all, if you have any other closing thoughts about this topic as a whole, about anything you want to say to the people. And then also, if a person wanted to kind of follow your MG journey, how could they go about doing that online?
Of course. So my community, I love my community. So basically I have a page called Confessions of a Cognitive Queen because it's all in the mind to me. So I talk about my journey on there, but I do it from a place of more of like a positive aspect, like living from my day to day. No, I do show my negative sides from time to time, but I more so like to show the positive.
Hmm.
They also have a Myasthenia Gravis Foundation page where you can go on there and learn more about myasthenia. And then, of course, good old faithful Google. You can just type in Myasthenia Gravis and it's right there. But I would say I love the community because, and by community, I mean all types of autoimmune disorders, all types
Hmm.
of rainbows and ribbons and things you can explore. I love it because you
Hmm.
learn from everybody and you really get a gist of what everybody has to deal with because the autoimmune may not be the same, but the struggle is the same sometimes.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
So you get that kind of love and inspiration from that and you can feel it because you're down in the dumps. I'm gaining weight. You're gaining weight. You know what? Let's do this journey together because I see what you're dealing with. I see you basically in a sense. And I love it. I call it a blessing and a curse. I wouldn't change it for the world because it's brought me to who I am today. And I just I'm inspired. I'm inspired by myself. I'm inspired by others. I'm inspired by you. I'm
Oh, thank
inspired
you.
by
That's
everybody
sweet.
around me.
Thank you.
So I love it.
Wow. And for people who may be on Instagram in particular, if you wanted Jasmine's handle for her MG journey, her user name is at cognitive 1030 queen. So that's COGNITIVE 1030 QUEEN. And I will also have that in the show notes. And then she does have a link there to her blog as well of Confessions of a Cognitive Queen. I'll also include that link. And I will include the link for more MG resources. So, thank you for those words of encouragement. And before we come to a close today, I would like to share everybody. So, Jasmine and I know each other in a very interesting way. And again, with people that I call friends, I don't take that term lightly, but I do take it serious. And Jasmine is a friend, okay? The way that I know Jasmine is I started teaching when I was 21 years old, literally. And I taught high school back at Oscar Smith High School in Chesapeake, Virginia. I spent my first 3 years teaching there. I taught English. Had no clue what I was doing, but obviously, former students of mine who are now grown people in their 30s have told me that I helped them and all of that. Look, I was just trying to figure out my road in life. I didn't realize how young I was in comparison to my students back then. Like I said, I was just trying to make it. And Jasmine was one of my students. She really was. She was one of my students. I don't remember if I taught her for 10th or 11th grade. Which grade did I teach you in? Do you even remember? It was 10th,
Might have
10th
been
or
10th,
11th.
maybe.
I don't
10th.
know.
I can't
Either
remember.
way, yeah. Either way, there is not a big age gap with us. But the one boundary that I did have, especially after I moved, I taught there for 3 years and I moved. Um, is that I told students, I said, look, although I'm close in age to y'all, I said, I'm not giving anybody my phone number or anything. I said, you have to hit 18 and graduate high school before you can even find me in your personal life. So that is what I kept up there because I won't trying to catch a case. I won't about that life or anything with any of my students, right? So moved, carried on about my business. And all it takes is one person to find somebody on Facebook. And sure enough, it took one student graduating high school, um, being grown. And once one person found me, other people. And Jasmine and I connected on social media. But then life happened. We just kept on going about our business. Years passed, lost touch. And then I don't know to this day what happened, but I think it was on Instagram where I think I found her or she found me, something like that. Make a long story short, we reconnected. And I was in my late 30s then, and Jasmine and I just became friends. We really did become friends. And with her and another former student of mine, Rakia, I had her on my show before. They are like two of my true sister friends where we are friends. And I'm like a big sister to them, because I can't believe I started teaching high school when I was 21. I was young, you know what I'm saying? But I can say about Jasmine as a friend and as a person, oh my gosh, she is one of the most authentic people I have ever met in my life. A lot of my days back then when I taught were a blur. Something else came out of that, but I'm not going to bring that up on my show years
Next
later.
time.
So we not going to say that part, but it was, but I'll just put it like this. Jasmine is a friend, and she's grown, but there was another individual who was a part of my life. But anyway, we're not going to even go there with that person. But again, that's like sister friends talking and laughing and giggling. But
Mhm.
my whole point though is that when I learned she lived with MG and the questions that I asked up here were real, I didn't even know about MG or what it was until Jasmine and I reconnected, because I knew at the time when we first started our friendship, when she was in college, she didn't have this. And so all of these years later, I learned, I think we reconnected when she first got diagnosed. And I was like, what in the world is that? And she talked about it. She did have some close calls. I was praying for her. And just to see her thriving, we hang out there. She comes to my house. We go out places. And she is my sister. And Jasmine, you have always just been, like you said, just a fire, a spark, a go-getter, and you never let anything let you down. And one thing I can say, although I don't remember a lot of the details of when I did teach you, one thing I can say is that when you were a student then, oh my gosh, when I tell y'all she helped me figure out stuff, she helped me find my way. She knew I was young and was just trying to like get into the swing of stuff. Jasmine helped me with stuff, even if it was her picking up papers, passing them back, getting in the kids, hey, look, y'all, chill out. I had good classroom management, but at times those jokers were off the hook. And Jasmine would come and take command. Look, y'all, we have a good teacher. Y'all already know and she just had that spunk about her. And I said to myself back then, I was like, she's really cool. She's somebody I could hang out with one day. It was just a passing thought, but thoughts have power. And who would have known, literally, practically all these years later, nearly 20 years later, that we really are friends? And I just thank you. It's an honor to have you on my show today. It's an honor just for you, for me to be in your circle, for you to have given me access to you, where we really have a bond as sister friends. And it took her a while to start calling me Lily instead of Felton,
And I
but
still won't. I still
that was
won't. I
funny.
still
To
struggle.
this day, she know I'm her friend, but she's like, I'm a Southerner. It's a respect thing. I can't. But just the other day, we were talking, and it shocked her. Like, dang, we really are close in age. I'm like, yeah, I'm not old, but anyway. So, Jasmine, thank you. It's an honor and a joy, and I love you so much.
Thank you so much. I love you too, and you still look young. That's okay. We can say it. We can say it. We still look young. She outran me before, so I'm gonna put that out there. She
Haunted house,
outran me.
yes. We went to a haunted house in October, but we will save that for another time. I don't do horror stuff, and this woman convinced me to go to a haunted house of terror in October. And I'm like, oh, but anyway.
Well,
We had fun either way, but I love you, and you all please follow Jasmine's journey and continue to just be encouraged. Jasmine, don't let anybody, anything ever keep you or bring you down. You got this, girl, and I love you.
love you too. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. It helps us inspire even more listeners. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little power in their transformation. Until next time, keep bouncing back, keep rising, and be good to yourself and to others.